welcome to Author Talk. I'm your host, Jim Dorman, and today we're very pleased to have author Mike Carini of Abington on the show. And Mike has his new book out, Tyler Madison and the Secret of Washington's Treasure. It's a brand new young adult action adventure, historical fiction, spy thriller. I guess a lot of adjectives could go towards it. It's available on Amazon. Let me give a little bio on Mike. Mike Carini, known locally as Blackbeard, has taken on many challenges in his 46 years. He manages the family business, Blackbeard Incorporated, has been a world champion sport karate fighter and an Abington police sergeant, is now a published author. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
On the book.
Thank you.
And I think it's quite an achievement. How does it feel to have completed the book? And
it's crazy. It's still kind of a whirlwind. It's something I've always wanted to do. It's something I've always kind of dreamed of.
Yeah.
I never really thought it was going to come to fruition. It's one of those things that I said to myself, if I get to it, great. If I don't get to it, not a big deal.
Right.
And my daughter just kept pushing me, and now here we are.
Wow, that's good. You said to have some support like that, and maybe a little nudge.
Oh, it was great. So
Yeah.
She's been wanting me to do it for years. I was the type of person that would write a little bit, forget about it for a month,
Right.
write a little bit more, forget about it for a couple of weeks. Then I have to reread it because I forgot what I wrote. And then she kept going, Dad, why don't you do this? And we have a mutual friend, LJ Vickery, who's a published author, more than 40 books out there.
Wow.
She read some of the stuff I said, and she goes, you got to do this. You got to actually finish it. So between the two of them, I had no choice. I had to do it.
Wow. Did you write much like when you were younger, or have you written shorter things, or?
Believe it or not a ton.
Mm-hmm.
When I was with the Abington Police, we obviously wrote a lot of reports.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes you're writing 5-6 pages a night. Doesn't seem like a lot, but when you actually add that up over a 4-and-2 rotation, you're writing 20-30 pages a week. Mm-hmm. When you actually get to sit down and write what you want, sometimes I could only get a page or two out, and it was crazy. But
Right.
The more I got into it and the longer I got into the story, I was able to go faster, and then it just kind of flowed right out.
Right. Well, that's kind of interesting. About you had to write those reports for
If you think about it, you write all kinds of reports as a police officer. You write 5-6 pages a night, and it's common. Yeah. People always say, isn't it a thrilling job? It's a thrilling job for about 20% of the time.
Right.
The 80% of the time, you're writing reports and doing paperwork.
Did you get good feedback on what you did? Because some people, they're in jobs that they have to write, and they don't enjoy it.
Some of my supervisors had some red pens, but I did all right.
All right. Well, let's get to the book here. Can you just kind of give a description of the premise and what it's all about?
Yeah, so it's a group of kids that basically, one of the kids' grandfather was president of the United States. I don't know if you know the history, but usually presidents pass down a letter to the next incoming president.
Yeah.
Some of them are public, some of them you don't really know what was said. I kind of used that to my advantage, and I started this letter that his grandfather had was supposed to pass down to the next president. He actually passed down to his grandson.
Right.
And it was basically trying to figure out if George Washington had a treasure hidden somewhere. And it was now not the next president's goal, it was his grandson's goal to find that treasure.
Right.
And he brought in a bunch of people. They went around, and they went everywhere to find it.
So what do you think inspired you to write something like that? Is it things you've read before, or?
Well, there's a few things. Mm-hmm. I've always been into collectibles and antiques and history.
Right.
And I've always been into kind of treasure hunting, like metal detecting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So putting those worlds together, it was almost destiny that I write a mystery historical fiction.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's a lot in there. I've read it. It's good. It moves along quickly. A lot of interesting elements to it. Did you have to do a lot of research? I would think, based on what I've read.
So I wanted it to be a historical fiction, but I didn't want it to be all crammed in history and almost make it like a history class.
Okay.
So I added elements of history, and then I kind of changed some of those elements, like the skinny house that's in the book. All right. Well, there's a part in the skinny house that I'm sure you know is fictional. when they're in the basement. That's fictional. Okay. But the house itself is an actual historical house, and it's in the North End, and so elements of the story are accurate, and then I changed them to kind of add some flow to it.
Did you ever struggle with any of the things that you changed? Just, it was, I don't know, fact versus fiction at all?
It's funny. I didn't realize how popular this book would get. I just thought it was going to be, sell it to a couple friends, and that was it. I actually just got someone who hit me up recently from Texas, and their son read the book, and first day of school, that's coming up. So you see all the kids on social media holding the first day of school and like what they like and their color, and his favorite book was this one. So I thought that was kind of cool. Awesome. But to go back to what you were saying there, it was hard to flow in at first, but then putting in some of the elements and taking out some of the elements, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Okay. I would think with so much, it might be hard to kind of decide what to put in and what to leave out.
I just kind of made it want it to be cool, like an adventure. Like I try to put myself in a young adult role and what I thought would be interesting, and certain facts about a historical building might not be interesting to a young kid. But some of them might be. So those are the ones I kind of added.
Did you visit some of the locations?
I have. So I actually have been to the Skinny House. I've been all through the North End. The Quincy House, that was fictional. That whole thing was fictional. But Quincy is a base of presidents, so I thought that would be kind of neat.
Yeah, right.
I've actually been to the White House and had the pleasure of being in the Oval Office, which was cool. So seeing that and learning like how that room was set up just by visual, seeing it in person made all the difference when I was able to write it into the story.
Right. Some of the like the protocols and things that you know about, and maybe Secret Service stuff. Was that? Did you know? Again, did you have to do some research, or did you just kind of make it up?
Yeah, a little bit of both, a little bit of everything. I did know some of the protocols per se, but some of them was made up, and I used my history to kind of make it seem accurate. Not everything in the book is textbook, some of it's made up, some of it's, embellished, but a lot of it is kind of true, you know what I mean? There is a pool in the White House, you know what I mean? But I don't think it leads all the way to the president's room.
It's true, I've heard about the pool.
Stuff like that.
Okay, so you just kind of use your imagination on a lot of that.
Yes.
And there's some fighting type stuff in there, and so that's some part of your background too.
Correct. So I was able to take a lot of the stuff that I've trained and taught people and put into the story. The hard part is turning something in your mind into paper so other people can understand it. That I definitely found difficult.
Right.
But the more I got into it, the easier it got.
And that concerns some of the characters more than other. What was it like developing the different characters?
That was the fun part.
Yeah.
That was actually a blast. Some people say, the characters are people in my life, and that is true. Some of them have traits of some people in my life, but the characters are standalones, but they might, a certain person in my life, like everyone says my daughter Madison is Rose, Everyone says Tyler is my son Tyler, Okay. And it's kind of funny. I used both their names but reversed it, But it's not him, but it's elements of him, little snippets of his life that people see in the book, which make it interesting.
How about yourself? Are you in?
You're gonna have to read that one.
All right, that one might be a little bit our mystery for the reader, I guess. But I just kind of. Thought about that, and you have a little kind of I don't want to say shout out, but like references to the people in your life in the book.
Yeah, it was fun. It made it easier for me to distinguish between which character I was writing about versus at the time. Right. It made it a lot easier to know. I could kind of think how they would think, and I know them enough to be able to write what they might be able to say at that moment in time.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Which parts of the book were kind of more difficult, I guess, and maybe you struggle with?
Oh, yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
You don't think writing 318 pages is difficult, but it is. And realizing that what you wrote on page 3 might come back on page 300. Well, for me, I don't do this every day, so writing page 3 might have been 2 years ago. You know what I mean? In reality, on this stage, at this book. So I had to literally go back and read and try to figure out where I was at certain sections and how I would incorporate it into the new stuff. But the easiest part to write, in my opinion, was the end. I was able to flow right through because I knew where the story was going. I started the book and I didn't know where the story was going.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How would you describe like your writing process? I guess did
A mess. Basically, I would text myself or write a note if I'm driving down the road, I'd pull over and I'd write down something that I thought of and I'd be like, okay, I can use that later. Or I'll be talking to someone and they'd say something and I'd be like, I like that quote, you know what I mean? So I'd use it like fight like the third, monkey trying to get on Noah's Ark. I heard that somewhere and I'm like, that's something I got to work into there, you know what I mean? It's stuff like that I was able to use, but no, my writing process was not like most people.
Okay.
Most people will write a chapter or write an outline of a chapter and write another outline and have a a whole story kind of written out in notes. That wasn't me. I wrote a chapter and said, what could happen next? Let's try this. And then let's try this. And then next thing I know, once I got to the middle of the story, I was all set to go from there. And then I kind of flowed with the rest. I guess they call it a pantster.
Yeah?
A pantster type person.
Yeah.
There's people who just write a book by the seat of their pants.
Okay, that makes sense. As you know, I write a bit myself. I've never written, usually I write like an article. It's about 800 words or something like that, but, you write something like this.
And having good people around you help because I would write something and they'd be like, oh, no, that character was 6'1", you're not 5'8", and I'd be like, oh, that's a good pick up, or something like that. Or this character had brown eyes, and now I wrote in chapter 23 they had green eyes or something. Having good people around you to read it helps a lot.
So this is kind of like a self-published type, or the Green Wave Press, I guess.
Yeah, you gotta give a shout out to Abington.
Exactly. But did you have somebody consistently read?
Yes. So I had a few people. What I didn't want to do is I didn't want to have multiple people like reading it, because then it just gets confusing. Everyone will have ideas and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And how to go and how to write it or what to do. So I said to myself, I had an author, the author friend that I was talking about, a high school English teacher, 12th grade English teacher, who's a very good friend of mine, read it. And then, of course, I couldn't let my daughter not read it. So between the three of them and myself, we were able to put it at least into the hands of a editor. And then once we had the professional editor look at it and shred it and go through it, then now we got the finished copy.
Right. Do you think you learned a lot for maybe a future, maybe?
I learned I definitely learned a lot. Like I said, I never expected it to be a top 5 pick on Barnes & Noble for one of the weeks that it came out. Never expected it to be a bestseller on Amazon, #1 in the teen young adult category. Barnes & Noble Hingham is interested in doing a what do you call it, like a release party on the second one.
Nice.
So now I've kind of stepped up my game a little bit, and it's not going to be 2 years to the next one. It'll probably be out in April if I can get to
really?
it. Yep.
Oh, great. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's see, some of the characters I'm thinking, there's a lot of humor in some of the characters.
Well, you got to keep it light. It is a teen young adult book. You know what I mean? So there's no like killing, there's no death in it, there's no violent crime stuff. But you gotta have also a fun element to it, a comedic element to it, and you got to make it interesting to read. So there was a thrilling element to it too. So that's what carried these kids all through the story. It was interesting.
And I think was it
Aiden?
Aiden has a lot.
Aiden is my favorite character to write. I'm not gonna lie. My kids are mad because they want to be the favorite character, but Aiden by far is the best, my favorite character to write.
Right.
Except I'm gonna change that when book 2 comes out. I have a new favorite character that I'm writing right now.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
look forward to that. Huh?
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
There were some things that we were talking about the same people, right? Because you're pretty clear at the end that we're going to have some more adventures with these folks. Right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know. But
So the new, I'll give you a little
Yeah.
snippets on the new one. The new one's basically it's Abe Lincoln this time. So this one was George Washington. This is going to be Tyler Madison in the hunt for Lincoln's reward. So make a long story short, John Wilkes Booth, we all know, was the killer of Lincoln. It's not unknown that he had illegitimate kids. So one of his illegitimate kids is John Maple. He lives up in Wareham area, in this area.
Okay.
And he hears that his father killed Lincoln.
Yeah.
So he didn't like his father because his father banished him to the north. He goes down there, meets up with Boston Corbett, who basically was the one that found and captured Booth.
Okay.
And basically turns in his dad, collects there was a $100,000 reward at the time. That's a lot of money. He collects the reward for the capture of his dad. Now he realizes all the Confederates are after him. He flees west to buy himself an island, which is now Alcatraz. So now these kids have to break into Alcatraz to find the $100,000 reward money.
Resourceful kids.
Yeah. These kids are breaking into all kinds of federal buildings. I don't know.
All right. It was kind of interesting between us. You have adults and they have relationships, then you have the kids and they have relationships.
I'm having more adults read this book and like it and hit me up and review it and on Amazon, and they're loving the story. They,
It appeals to both.
I say it's a young adult story, but tons of adults have been reading it.
Yeah. All right, very interesting. That's a very interesting time period as well. I think not too long ago I read a book about, I don't get the name wrong, but I think it was like Mary Cassette or something. She was like the, I could be I could confuse it with an artist, but anyway, she was the, like, she had a rooming house. That's where John Wilkes Booth stayed, and that's where they had meetings and stuff, and she ended up being hanged.
Oh, yeah, a lot of them did.
So, and, but she said that she really, didn't know about everything, and but they hanged her anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's great to go and kind of feel like you're there and with some of these things, but you're taking it a step further.
Yeah, so I just take a little bit of history and twist it up to make it fun.
That's interesting that you can do that. It's pretty cool. Let's see. It also, obviously, there's a lot of things in here that are like puzzles and riddles and clues and codes and things like that.
There's tons of that stuff. That was hard.
Yeah.
So I actually had to cheat a little bit. I looked online for some decoding and stuff like that. And once I found some cool ones, I just manipulated them a little bit to something that would work for the story.
Right.
And it seemed to work, what I mean? And I shout out to the cover artist and the inside art artists. They did a really good job designing the book cover. And
the cover's cool.
Yeah. You get a kick out of it. That's actually Tyler. He did a little bit of a photo.
Oh, really?
He did a little bit of a photo shoot, and they were able to digitally draw him and put him onto the cover of the book, which is cool.
All right. Let's see. So the process was pretty good. When did you actually finish it before it was published? Like, how long did it take? A long time?
It took a while because I wasn't quite sure on everything, on how to do everything, and kind of, little things that I didn't think of. You do the formatting before the cover art because the binder needs to know exactly how many pages and little things like that you don't really know. And so a couple times I had to redo things or go back and change things that the next book I won't have to do so much of,
Was it a conscious decision to keep the chapters fairly short?
I did that kind of on purpose. You ever read James Madison?
Yes. Yeah.
These very short chapters.
Yeah, right.
I love James Madison because I can read a chapter quick, put the book down, move on. I don't have to sit for 15 minutes to read one chapter.
Right.
A lot of times I don't get a chance to sit down for a half hour to read a book. So by shorter chapters, I can pick it up for 5 minutes, read a chapter, and then move on.
Yeah, I think these days too, people's attention span, or I mean, I hate to say it, but there's just so much with people that
absolutely.
they have phones and just the quick things to take their time up. So.
Yeah, and a lot of the young adult books I did notice too have the shorter chapters. The next one, they're going to be a little bit bigger. Like, I mean, I think the average chapter page here was 3 or 4 pages. The next one will probably be 5 or 6 pages, but it'll also be a little bit more. This ended up being right around 60,000 words. It was at 62, 63, and then after editing they cut a lot out. The next one is on par to be around 70,000, so we're adding 10,000 words to the story.
Back to the history a little bit, and the names and everything, but like James Madison, I mean, was that kind of like, oh, well, this kind of works with him, I guess?
Yeah.
And then you got into, like, at the beginning, I was trying to figure out like what the time period was exactly, because I'm going, because it's talking about, okay, so the former president at this time now is the 6th grandson, I think, or something.
So I had to actually do the math and figure out what would bring it to like present time. For him to be, and it was like 6th to something.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, that's what it worked out to be. So it's set in present time. Now the next one obviously is going to be set in present time, but there's going to be flashbacks from 1865 in the era of John Wilkes Booth and Abe Lincoln. So you'll be able to just distinguish it a little bit easier, because the top of the chapters will have the day and then present time for the group, the gang.
And while I was reading it, I thought about some of the dynamics of just kind of, obviously we got an election year going on. There's things going on. We had an assassination attempt that involved like Secret Service and and all that. And obviously we're talking a lot about Secret Service people. In the book. I don't know. It's just kind of maybe the timing of it was quite interesting. But one thing I guess I noticed was that I couldn't figure out, say, if anybody was a Democrat or a Republican or anything
I kept
like
it pretty
that.
neutral that way. I wanted to stick with it being a historical fiction adventure story and not get into politics and all that stuff. So even the presidents that I chose, you know what I mean? Or the references to the president's desks and stuff like that. It was all based on actual items and the actual president that displayed that item at the Oval Office. It had nothing to do with Republican or Democrat.
Yeah, I understood that decision is a bit of I was just trying to get into like this guy who was the president. Colt O'Malley.
Colt O'Malley.
Colt O'Malley.
That just sounds like a
No, it doesn't. I'm Irish. Sounds like a nice guy.
The bad guy names I just thought was pretty cool. Colt O'Malley is one of them. So.
Just kidding, but it was and it said that like the previous. At some point, there was a reference to the previous president. I was like, okay, we'll keep it. we'll keep it neutral here. That's probably good. Yeah. So, well, again, I think it looks great that you got kind of a series in mind.
We're gonna go for it. See where it goes.
I
haven't had Netflix knocking on my door yet.
Hey, we'll see. But you've done some book signings and things like that, or
So we did a signing in Barnes and Noble in Hingham. That was fun. We've done. I had to stay local and do the first one at True Keys. That was great.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome.
Right. Yeah,
they were awesome with me.
That's awesome.
So it was fun. There's a few others in the works, but
And you met some other authors. We had Bill Carter on here last time. He was you guys did a book signing at Barnes and Noble.
Yes,
There's a few other authors too.
Yeah, we did. They did a big local day. That was fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there Amazon the best way to get it, or Barnes and Noble?
Well, you can go to the Hingham Barnes and Noble. They have them in the store. You can get them on BarnesandNoble.com. People have been saying the easiest and quickest has been Amazon. So yeah, Amazon.com.
Right.
You can find it. Just search Tyler Madison book. You can pull it right up. Leave a review. I'd appreciate it.
That's great. Yeah. So everybody, please do that. It's a great read. So you'll enjoy it. So thanks, Mike, for coming on to Author Talk today. We appreciate having you here.
Anytime. Thank you.
And thanks to you all for tuning in. And we'll see you next time on Author Talk.